Well, hello YouTube, and a warm welcome to the Essentially Crypto channel. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm your host. Now, I've been tweaking the audio settings a little bit, so hopefully we're not out of sync. So let me know in the comments whether it's in sync for you, or maybe if the voice is faster than the picture, or the picture is faster than the voice, etc., so that way I can tell what I need to do to tweak them. But hopefully I've got it dead on this time, and we should be all good. Now, anyway, I digress, because we're going to talk about something a bit interesting, and that is that at the moment there's a fundamental flaw with some of the drops in Veve. And I don't see it as a massive flaw, but a lot of people do. And a lot of people are going to be complaining about it. And there was the whole thing about the FUD, about the bots. Now, Dan spoke about the bots last night and said they put stuff in place to make sure that they combat it, etc. Now, obviously, they can't combat every bot. And there's going to be people, script kitties or whatever, that manage to flip the script so that way they once again start using the bot. But every time they do, they manage to put something new in place to stop this from happening. So it's not really about the bots. It's more about the amount of people in the app that are trying for these drops. So, therefore, let's have a little think about it, logically, what we can do. And I think that a friend of mine, we were talking this morning on the phone, we were talking about Omi and Ikomi and the collectibles and all that kind of thing. And he's finally started listening to me, and he started buying some of the collectibles, by the way. I've been telling him for absolutely yonks, and he hasn't listened. And now, because he's realised how they're going up in price and that kind of thing, he's actually going to start trying to get the drops himself to try and be able to do that. So that's all good news. But here's the thing. He said to me that the trouble with the drops... and this makes sense, and this is my friend Joe, by the way, so shout out to Joe if you're watching. He said to me that the trouble with the drops is that it ruins the customer experience in a way, because if there's a lot of people, and what they do is they're probably going for the ultra rares, okay, more than likely is what they're going for. Because when people say they don't get anything on the drop, that is completely wrong. Okay, in the comics, then maybe you can find that you don't get much because of the fact that you have to be really quick on the comments, because even though there's 30,000 of them, they sell out really fast because they're only $7.99. But in the real drops, like the ones where they've got the ultra rares, they've got the rares and all that kind of thing, like for instance the Captain America, you find that the ones that sell out are the ultra rares and the rares sometimes. And then after that, the rest of them sort of stay around in the store for quite a while, unless they've got something really different about them. Like the Labbits, they all went. But that's kind of an anomaly, really. Not every single drop sells out on all the commons, all the rares, and all the everything. Okay? So... when people say they can't get anything on the app, what they actually mean is they can't get an ultra rare or a secret rare, or they can't get one that they think is going to go up in price the fastest, basically, and that's what they're annoyed at. So now I kind of understand what he was saying. He said it kind of ruins the customer experience if you go for an ultra rare and you don't manage to get it, and then the next week you go for it, or the next day you go for it, you don't get it, and then you do that 5 or 6 times in a row, you just start thinking, well, what's the point? And you don't go to the market because you not necessarily want to spend a lot of money on them, because obviously not everybody does. So he said something which I think would work quite well. But first of all, let's have a look what other people have said, because I haven't heard anyone mention this. Maybe incidentally you've thought of this as well. So, I'm not saying nobody's thought of this and everybody's stupid or anything like that. But I think this is a very simple, elegant solution that doesn't really affect anything really, and can be put in place like instantly, and it would really help, I think. So let me know what you think in the comments when I tell you about it in a second. But for now, let's have a look at what people have been saying. So basically, at the moment, you try to get the ultra rare or the rare. Generally, that's what people try to get on the drop. And after that, you would then go for an uncommon and a common. And obviously, the reason you do this is because the amount of each one significantly changes. So therefore, it changes in the value that it's worth. So if you manage to get an ultra rare, even though you're paying £100 for it, say, you can probably sell that straight away for about 1,000. So you made yourself sort of a lot of money straight away in just a small pace of time. Whereas if you buy a common for £40, the chances of it staying at retail value for quite a while are very high, because of the fact that there is a higher number of editions. So some people have been saying, well, why don't they just do a higher number of ultra rares? Well, that wouldn't really work, because essentially the reason it's ultra rare and the reason it's worth more money is because of the fact that there isn't a huge amount of them. Scarcity equals, value, essentially. So therefore, if you were to simply do, say, 20,000 of an ultra rare, it would no longer be worth the prices of an ultra rare, because there's 20,000 of them. It's simple as that. So that would be a pretty silly thing for Ecomi to do, which they could do in the future. I don't know. You know, at the end of the day, if there's that many people coming into the app and there's millions of people trying to get these drops, then that is a thing that they can look at doing, I guess. But then, as I said, if they do increase those numbers, which they have done over the period of time since I've been in the app anyway, you know, like Donny's, for instance, there was like 100 there was a small amount of them. I can't remember the exact amount, but there wasn't that many of them. And that's why they're so rare now, and that's why they're worth so much. Whereas other ones that there was like 2,000 or 3,000 of are not worth as much at the moment, and it's simply because the amount there are. So therefore, that's what you've got to take into account. So simply increasing the amount of collectibles doesn't mean a thing. Now, the way a drop works at the moment is you've got your ultra rare, you've got your rare, your uncommons, and your commons in most cases, all four of those. What people tend to do is that some people will go straight for the ultra rares, and therefore they'll try and get one of them, and then they'll miss it. And then they will go on to try and get a rare, but they normally miss that one as well. And then they might end up with an uncommon or a common, or they just won't buy anything at all, and they'll just complain that they never got anything. So that seems to be the key, because of the fact that... But some people also do the opposite, where they will go for a rare, and then they will get it. And the reason they'll go for a rare is because everyone's going for the ultra rare, so it makes sense to go for the rare. So, you know, that means that essentially you've got to choose whether you go for an ultra rare, a rare, a common, or an uncommon. But nobody ever chooses the common or uncommon because they're always in the store, more or less. So the chances of you being able to get one of those at the last minute are quite high. So therefore, the only choice you've really got to make is whether or not you go for the rare or the ultra rare. Because are you willing to sacrifice that you might not get anything on the drop, or are you willing to just go for the ultra rare and then maybe jump to the rare and try and get it as well? So these are kind of the questions you've got to ask yourself. But this is the elegant solution right here, okay? Because a lot of people are saying, well, you know, make a lottery system or something like that. If you make a lottery system, then it means that the first few people that hit the button, you know, everybody gets it put in a little thing, and then some of them get it and some of them don't. And then you're still in really the same sort of situation, because at the moment it's kind of like a lottery system. You click on the button all at the same time, every single person, and it's the one that gets in just a little bit faster than anyone else maybe that gets it. So really a lottery system is pretty much exactly the same, apart from it doesn't take into account your ping and all that sort of stuff. So that's the case as well, I guess. So maybe a lottery system, but it does kind of take the fun out of it. So a lot of people are saying they don't want a lottery system. A lot of people are saying do KYC, because then that way, everybody who has to do KYC to take part in the drop, it means that you won't get any bots in there, because, well, they could still do KYC anyway, incidentally, but they can... you know, there won't be multiple accounts of people because they have to do KYC in order to do that. And yes, that works, I guess. But the issue is that it creates a very big barrier for people to be able to take part in drops, and therefore the idea is to onboard people quickly, get them into the app, get them used to doing what they're doing, liking what they're doing, and wanting to stay. Not the idea of come into the app and then, you know, like how many times you've been to a website and the first thing they say is, give me your credit card information. What do? You normally click off and you go away. So it's exactly the same sort of process. And therefore the idea is to get normal people into the app, not crypto people, but normal people who want to buy these things, and make it as seamless and easy as possible. So therefore doing KYC on every single person that comes into the app to enable them to do drops, it just means that it won't onboard a lot of people. It'll just be pointless. And therefore the value of the collectibles will never really go up too much, and also the amount of users will sort of stay around a certain amount, because a lot of people won't get mass adoption from it, and that's not the idea of Veve. The idea is to open to the masses. So the elegant solution is this, and that is that they do more than one drop, but at exactly the same time. Now, as I said, somebody else might have thought of this. They might have even said it on a thing or something like that. But the way this would work essentially is that then, for instance, yesterday when we had Edo, you had Edo, and then you had the comic, and then 4 hours later you had Edo. So what does that mean? The idea of Veve was that they said that soon there's going to be so many drops and so many fandoms that people are going to have to choose what they want to buy. But they were referring to every single day there would be a drop. And we thought, when we first started, we thought that going to drop every day was just crazy. We were like, well, that's not going to happen. And now we pretty much have a drop every single day. But do you know what's crazy about that? Is that the same people go for a drop every single day. And the reason you go for a drop every single day is because you don't have to pay for it until you get it. So therefore, you can go for that drop. And then it's just luck if you manage to get it. And if you do get it, then you manage to, you can flip it or whatever, and that's kind of how it works. However, if you did 2 drops at exactly the same time, for instance, if you did Edo and you did the comics at exactly the same time, it means that they would have to decide which one to go to. You would have to decide which one you go to. So you don't have to change the amount of collectibles. You don't have to change anything in the situation at all, except for doing 2 drops or even 3 drops at exactly the same time. So instead of doing them spaced over a period of a day or even over a period of a week, you do all of them all in one go, and then people have to decide. So that means that you go to Edo, and that means that you can't go to the comic drop to try and get an ultra rare at the same time, especially if you've got 1 device. Now, if you've got 2 devices, it still works exactly the same, because you could say, okay, well then I'll go 1 device on Edu and I'll go 1 device on comic. Well, that's fine, because it doesn't matter, because you're using those 2 devices on 2 different collectibles rather than using your 2 devices on 1 collectible there and 2 devices on 1 collectible there. So therefore, it essentially would halve the amount, or not half necessarily, because you'll get different fandoms of different people, but you'll only get people trying to get the thing that they really want to get. And then after they've got that, they might then switch over to the next one quickly, if they can get through the app in the fastest time before they sell out, to be able to get the next one. And if they don't manage to get the ultra rare and the rare like they would do normally, they then might buy the common anyway, or the uncommon, because they literally just want to get something. And that would mean that the commons and the uncommons also would probably sell out on the drop, because that means that if you want to get a set of something, you want to get it at the cheapest possible price. Now, at the moment, the way it works is that the commons and the uncommons kind of sit in the store. So the main one to get is the ultra rare and the rare. Once you've got those, you then buy the uncommon and the common if you collect the set. But in this case, it would kind of be the opposite way round. You would buy the common or the uncommon, and then you would have to buy the ultra rare on the market. Not because, you tried for the drop and missed it, but because you were busy trying to get a different ultra rare at the same time. So I think it's a really elegant solution. I think it could work really well. Now, I don't know if Veve are ever going to implement it, but I thought I'd just like your comments on what you think. Have I not thought of all pitfalls that this could be? I can't. The only pitfall I can simply see is that you won't necessarily be able to get every drop. But as it stands at the moment, you don't get every drop anyway, because it's literally just pure luck, because there's 50-odd thousand people going for 1 Edo. If there was 50,000 people who were going for an Edo and a comic at the same time, then that essentially halves the amount of people, doesn't it? So there'll be 25,000 going for Edo, and there'll be 25 going for the comic. But the point is that you will get a choice as to which one you go for. And I think it's a really great solution. I don't know why I never thought of it before, because it literally is as simple as that. So I'm wondering if they're going to take it on board. Hopefully someone will get to see this video, maybe even like this video. So pop a little like in the comments below, or maybe if someone else takes on this video and makes it big and it blows up in the community, then that will be cool. That's if you think it's a good idea. If you don't think it's a good idea, obviously don't like the video, and put a comment in the box and let me know why it's not a good idea. But please don't just say, well, because then I don't get to have both of the collectibles, because obviously that's not fair to the entire community. But I think if we were to halve the amount in that sense, then it means that different people have different fandoms. They decide what they're going to do, because as it stands at the moment, they said that they're going to do that with more drops, but all that seems to happen is they've increased the amount of drops, but they still do them all separately. So even if they were half hour apart or 1 hour apart, it means that you can take part in every drop. And the reason you can take part in every drop is because you don't pay for it unless you win it. So if you don't win it, it doesn't matter. But what it does mean is that people who really want to win it, like I know loads of people who tried to get Edo, but just couldn't. And the reason they didn't is because a lot of new people coming in who didn't want Edo anyway. Like me, I tried for Edo. I didn't want Edo, but I tried for Edo because I knew that if I didn't get it, I wouldn't have to pay for it. But if I did get it and I paid for it, I could flip it straight away and get myself 1,000 gems. So that means it's a no-brainer. You're going to try for every drop no matter what. However, if they were both at the same time, Edo and comics, I would go, well, I'm not that bothered about Edo. I'll go and get a comic. And I might stand more of a chance of getting that comic because more people are going to get Edo. That's just my theory on it. Well, it's not my theory, really. It's something that I was chatting with a friend, my friend Joe, this morning, and he came up with the idea, and I think it's absolutely brilliant and a fantastic solution for it. But, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. But anyway, just to let you know, I recorded this video just a second ago. I checked it back, and it's like 40 minutes of me talking about the whole video, essentially. So I'm going to bring this into 2 parts. So you've just watched the first part there, which is the bit about me giving the idea for Veve, and then this next one, or the next video that's coming up, is going to be about the AMA. So if you already know all the details of the AMA and you don't want to watch it, then feel free to skip that video. But if you would like to see my comments and my ideas that come with the next video, then feel free to watch that as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.